So is the war on drugs being politicized? We have a panelist here in the studio to take us through that particular story and, of course, the gun-toting drama of Senator Paul Njoroge that happened yesterday as well. We know we've been here before when we've had also businessmen toting their guns, as, in protest. And so we have with us Professor Naomi Damba, who is the Vice-Chancellor of KCA University, also is an expert on defense and foreign policy. We have with us as well Dr. Mumo Nzau, who is a governance and security strategist. Also, we have with us Dr. Apollos Mashira, who is a criminologist from Egerton University, and Dr. Mustafa Yusuf Ali, who is a conflict resolution and national security expert. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Right, let's just begin with the story of Njoroge gun-toting drama that happened yesterday, threatening the managing director of Vivo Energy. First of all, this is not the first time that we've had these cases of maybe legislators, brandishing their guns and shooting in the air, scaring people or businessmen as well. And we've had this debate about gun ownership in this country and how this should be handled. Let's begin with you, Dr. Mumo Nzau.
Yeah, civility is one of the tenets of what is required of a good citizen. Mm-hmm. And this is just lack of civility. It's just irresponsible behavior. And the last time I saw this, I think it was in Makueni, when politicians brandished and pointed weapons at the police. And it's something so regrettable, so bad. We don't want our children to see such things because it's bad example. Ordinary thieves, look at a legislator behaving like this, lack of civility. There are other psychological issues which the police must answer. If some people have gone through psychological tests before they can be allowed to wield such things. But the police did their work promptly. He was arrested, disarmed immediately, and is going to face charges. But this should not happen again. And let those who have such tendencies take heed that the state is going to rain on them for such. And this is, civility must be kept.
Thank you, thank you. Dr. Apollos.
Senator Njoroge is a lawmaker, and he should be an example to Kenyans. He cannot use his disability to wield guns. He is disabled, yes, but the petrol station and the owners have a problem with the money because the petrol station needs to be upbeat. There is no petrol there in Karai. I have gone there several times. Mm-hmm. Usually there is no petrol. So if the petrol station is broke, I think the owners should take the necessary action, which they did. Then Senator Njoroge hired goons. I don't expect our leaders to hire goons when they can take the role. He could have called the police, but for him to hire goons to beat people and for him to shoot, what would have happened if I was crossing because I was coming on that train? Suppose I was there driving and then someone is shooting all over, only to see that it's a full senator. Those are not the kind of senators that we should nominate. So whomever nominated him should rethink whether Senator Njoroge is sane.
All right. Do you think maybe in his position, if he's other abled, that one he felt maybe he's very vulnerable, against the onslaught of what we were seeing with the security guards that were actually deployed there?
Yeah, Dibal, we need to understand that we are a nation of laws, and the rule of law has got to be followed. Senator is a lawmaker himself, and he behaves in that kind of a manner. Children are seeing him, young people are seeing him, and that's tragic. First of all, the claim by Polycarp Igade that he has flouted branding rules appears to be credible because of the way that particular petrol station is branded. And petrol stations do make money because of the brand that they carry. And if lawmakers are flouting rules and then behaving in such an uncivilized manner, then there is a problem in this country. In any civilized democracy, that senator should have just been asked to resign. even if elections are 5-6 months away.
But the fact that he had goons, and of course, as we are getting up towards general election, we've heard these particular stories of had goons. We've seen this in Muranga, that controversial field that people wanted to come and do, I don't know, the meetings, the governor of Muranga, and also the nominated, the member of parliament, Jamlek Kamau as well. Right, we know the controversy that was there, and we saw goons as well. So as we're heading towards general election, and this proclivity of the members of parliament or legislators hiring goons to actually go to some areas or functions because maybe they are not in the same page with their opponents, what sort of precedents are we setting, Professor?
Dubai, I strongly agree with my colleagues here. This is the kind of behavior and the kind of things they do in Somalia or in Libya or in Yemen, where failed government cannot take charge of law and order. Irrespective of what happened, we're a law and order country, we're a democratic country, we have a procedure. Those people who are carrying guns have the responsibility of that gun. Is only to defend yourself when it's absolutely necessary. You cannot go out and trot it, and threaten people. This is completely unacceptable. Lawlessness lead to failed government. And people who are hiring these young people to fight are breaking the law. And the senator ought to be behind the bar, ought to be charged and locked in, and not be re-elected again as a senator.
All right. Also, we've had one too many incidents of these gun drummers. Do we have any issues maybe with the gun control laws if we have them in the first place?
Yeah, there is a special committee that oversees the whole idea of weapons. It's headed by retired General Enoch Sasia. A very disciplined team. They have this, and some of these are exceptions because you can see this is a physically impaired person. They probably wanted to protect him, but they need to carry more psychological tests and to ensure that police can monitor some of these things. Because this is extremely dangerous. I thought, in fact, he was going to shoot himself. At some point, he had the weapon directed at his face. And these are very bad things that are breached totally of some of the standard operating procedures. But more importantly, the Chapter 7 and the legislation on elections. Section 66 through to 84 thereabout. The law has never gone on holiday in this country. It is so clear. You intimidate an opponent, you call some people, let's go beat those Somalis, or do that. All those things are against the law and they're clear. And there is no politician from MCA to MP to senator to all these guys up to the presidential candidate who thinks that they can be too dear to suspend the law in this country. It is not going to happen. And therefore, it is very clear that you will, even bribes, it's written there very clearly. And the magistrates up to the Supreme Court know how to interpret this and to vindicate the cause of justice. And therefore, let them take heed of this warning that it is not going to be this kind of suspending the rule of law overnight simply because now we start another circus. And that is out of question. They cannot do it.
All right. What does it really take for someone to really own a gun in this country? Dr. Apollos.
It depends on who knows you. Because
who knows you?
First it starts at the locations, then the counties. If you are in good books with the county commander, they recommend you to the provincial commander. Then the licensing office will give you a gun.
So does any ordinary citizen have the...
Okay, you take the good conduct, but what is a good conduct? You can get it anytime, anywhere. I don't think they investigate so much. So to get a license, although these days is a bit hard, you can also do something else and get a gun. legitimately.
So my question is, an ordinary citizen like me, can I own a gun?
No, you
Or
cannot.
what are the qualifications for me to own a gun?
No, I think...
I can't apply for a gun and
Professor
be given a
Mashira
license.
is just looking at some of the bad things that people can do, but that is not the law. It is not like that. There is a whole vetting process which involves specialized state agencies, and there is now a whole board on the whole thing because the state constituted it. It is not anything that is to be. In fact, people have been disarmed. It's just about less than 7,000, between 7,000 to 8,000 licensees, and for special reasons. But of course, there's a lot to be reined in. Of course, there are people who have illegal weapons and so on, and that is even the bigger problem, because the state sometimes cannot be able to monitor all this well. And that is the big problem. But all the same, the laws are there. If you discharge, if you do some of these things, they just disarm you and they arrest you, and that's what they did.
See what is happening now, right now in Laikipia. Last night they shot our OCPD.
Those are illegal weapons.
Some of those illegal weapons, and we know they have them. They have been keeping them. We keep on saying disarmament, but nothing happens. There is a lot of illegal ammunition out there.
But can we talk about this illegal ammunition a bit, just as we also drilling deeper into this conversation? Because there is a UN requirement, and I don't know if amongst the East African and Kenya, about the ammunition. I'm not really in the loop about it. I just remember reading it somewhere. But we've not really effected a rule from a UN statute in terms of illegal arms, being in the hands of citizens. Could you educate me on this? Maybe you're in the loop about it, Dr. Mustafa.
There is a regional outfit, intergovernmental, called REXA.
REXA, yes.
That is supposed to monitor the small arms and light weapons in the region. I think at some point it was headed by a former CAD officer. Not I forget his name, but Arab Sang. And they seem to have been doing a very good job in making sure that all arms, illegal arms, are actually serialized in the country and in the neighboring countries. This was operating in 7 countries in the region, and precisely so that they can track these guns, small arms, and light weapons. The problem, however, is the illicit small arms and light weapons, because those are not, it's very difficult to get those. They're hidden. And we've seen in Turkana, Pokot, northern parts of Kenya, northeastern parts of Uganda, South Sudan, southern parts of Ethiopia, Somalia. These areas are awash with these light weapons and small arms, and that's where the problem is. Senator Njoroge, that's a smaller problem. That's a problem of civility. The bigger problem is the proliferation of the small arms, the small arms and the light weapons in the region, and with the ongoing conflicts around the region, South Sudan, Somalia, Ethiopia, Burundi, we are likely to see more proliferation of these illicit small arms and light weapons in the region.
Coming back home, in Laikipia, right now, where I come from, there is a war between white ranchers and those illegal owners of those guns. They are chasing the white ranchers away with guns. So what happens when there is a lot of conflict, like now the OCPD is in war memorial, there is a hospital for soldiers here in Nairobi, Memorial Hospital. What will happen now, Kaisare may go there, or someone else like Boynet, then they will say disarmament. Once they start disarming, it will not finish a week. The politicians will go crying foul that our people are being harassed. They will make so much noise that the disarmament process will stop. And when it begins in Laikipia and Baringo, they will move their weapons away, further away. What can happen is disarmament should be done comprehensively between regions, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, and maybe Sudan, so that the Kenyans in West Pokot do not take their arms in Sebei in Uganda. They should disarm. But otherwise, we have been singing about this song for so long, and nothing happens all the time.
Right. Let's hear from Prof.
I think my colleagues here have contributed significantly. I think when it all comes down to, it's going to be a matter of civility and law and order. So long as there is commission, confrontation, so long as there is confusion about who is responsible for what, so long as there is proliferation of small arms that are out of control, this thing is going to continue to perpetuate our system and undermine our law and order. Mm-hmm. Politicians are not disciplined.
Yes.
They have no respect for law and order.
Yes.
In most cases, like what Apollo is saying. Mm-hmm. And therefore, you cannot, you are contradicting the very law and order you are supposed to represent. And yes. Therefore, we need to soul search as citizens of this country and decide what sort of society we want to create.
Yes.
That's the overall riding theme that we need to focus on.
All right. Can we also talk about the drug and the menace that now we're having? Of course, we can see accusation and the counter-accusations on who is a drug baron in this country. So the letters that we had from Joho, that is also what is headlining the front page of the Daily Nation today and the Standard as well, and also from Mary Wamboi, right, and so many legislators that also will hear from today. Could you comment, is this particular drug menace being politicized?
There is a bigger threat, a much more bigger threat, Dubal,
yes,
in our country than just drug. Mm-hmm. Casinos is proliferating in every neighborhood. Here in Westland, everywhere, Lavington, where peaceful people, where children go to school, there is casino. And then we start gambling. We are gambling about, European football. We're gambling about everything. People are being wasted,
yes,
such that the mega income they have is going on gambling. I've been in and out of Singapore several times. In Singapore, there is only one place where you can go and gamble. And the people who frequent that place, one way or another, you will be visited by law and order to first of all find out, are you responsible at home? And what are you doing out there gambling? And we are licensing gambling every single day, and their machines they're finding in Kericho, gambling machines that people are taking out there, they're taking up to their homes. Who in the world is responsible for this kind of thing? Who's licensing these people? Knowing that gambling is going to bring drugs, is going to bring prostitution, is going to bring a decay of our own society, which we have fought for and created. This is the bigger picture, which is engulfing our own country and the consequence of it. Everywhere in Europe, taking, for instance, United States, take Chicago, what happened in Chicago. Gambling in United States is done in Las Vegas. It's peaceful, orderly. That's where most people go.
So you think we should take one of our counties and make it the same
make
city
it,
like,
yeah,
like Las
maybe
Vegas?
one of the dry areas. Wherever. Turn it into a gambling.
Why a dry area?
Yeah. Move it out. To give them income. Yeah. Keep them away.
So we declare Pokot a sin city?
Out of but that's fine. You go up there, you return to Nairobi.
You stay there.
Okay.
Yeah. I know, Prof is raising an important thing here, because we're talking about social decay and matters of matters that are important to our nationhood, as a people, and so on. But this whole talk about drug and so on, this we call it soft news. Huh? It's not something that should worry you, Dibal, so much. Someone saying so and so said. There is the law. There are hard facts, and they are institutions that are global. They are working together. The Drug Enforcement Agency, the FBI. So these are serious things. We have anti-narcotics and others. They come with evidence. So, don't be swayed around by all these sideshows and all this. This is called, they're called soft news. It's like what they call Kardashian, following the Kardashian. This kind of thing is that.
All right.
So it's not something you should worry about. But when the boys come in blue and they have evidence for you again on camera, like they were showing on the weekend, about some of those others who the FBI came for, then that's when. But
I don't agree with you, because I think the scale of what we're actually experiencing right now is humongous, and bearing the fact of what we've heard from the news as well. When you go cross over to Philippines and what the president has been doing, killing people who are drug barons, well, it might escalate to that. We never know, right? We'll have a story also on what is really happening in Mexico. So we cannot treat it as soft news, yeah? But before we come to it, let's just hear if truly it's soft news from the legislators as well.
Safari wengine wamepanda, wengine watafuata, mpaka wote wahame Kenya hii. Wale wanaofanya biashara ya kuuza madawa ya kulevya Mombasa hii, haijalishi wako na uwezo gani wa kisiasa, sisi tutapambana na wao, na nchi hii watakihama. Watahama.
Not even going to have a conversation in a similar manner that the others would do. I'm not interested. Nobody has spoken to me. I'm not made aware that I'm under investigation. Ukitaka kujua hii ni mchezo ya paka na panya, ni kwamba wewe kama unajua watu wa mihadarati, kwa nini usiwashike? Kwa nini unatoa tu hizi statement za holela zisizoeleweka kwamba tunakujia, we're giving you a notice, tuko nyuma yako, tunakujua? Kama unajua mtu si umshike.
Tunataka wale watu wanauza mihadarati, wale watu wametajwa, wote waende Amerika. Passport yangu iko tayari. Passport yangu iko tayari. Nilienda Amerika mwisho na Mheshimiwa Rais. Tuko tayari kurudi huko. Na FBI itaamua ni nani anafanya mihadarati na nani hafanyi mihadarati.
Wacha niwaambie nyinyi, kazi yangu ni kufanya maendeleo, mniuze ile pesa napatia watu wa CDF, mambo ingine sina. Mimi ni mtu ya Mungu. Mungu yangu iko mbele.
When people are suspected by other countries and other countries have information that indeed these people have been engaged in this trade, it is natural for us, being partners in this war, to ensure that these people are handed over to the people with enough information, sufficient information to prosecute them. Last year, for example, the president presided over the destruction of a ship. The other year, we were on the same war path with drug barons. So our war with the drug barons has been consistent from the time we took office. And it is going to escalate even more, not because of the elections, because it is a justified war.
Yesterday also we had a very interesting editorial cartoon from Victor of a Star, just to show it to you on what is really happening. Why is this particular debate of drug war really coming right now? Is it the providential time? If you look at this particular cartoon, maybe it can give you an inkling of why, right? From the smart screen, right? There we have it. It's all about campaign funding. And you can see we have declared war on narcotics, but we don't mind its proceeds. But you can see someone who is the MP there sniffing the campaign fund.
Let me react to that, Dibale.
No, let's hear from Dr. Mustafa, because he just spoke, I think, right?
Dibale, as you've just said, we are not seeing the scale of this problem yet. It is going to be bad. Now, I just came back from Central America last week.
Yes.
In Panama, and we are starting some work in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, to address the issues of gang violence and organized crime, which is very much linked to drugs. Allow me to paint the picture of just one country, El Salvador. El Salvador is its city, San Salvador. I was there and met with the interior minister there, and the figures of those who are murdered on a daily basis makes El Salvador to be the murder capital of the world. And these murders are carried out by the Mara Salvatierra gangs, which are trading in drugs and pimping women. And early this year, there was one single day that there was no single killing in El Salvador, in San Salvador itself. The government nearly declared a public holiday on that day to celebrate that there was not a murder since, for decades. And the problem with these countries in Central America is that these drug lords are very much interlinked with political actors. And they've bribed their way, they've bribed the judges, they've bribed law enforcement agencies. They are engaged in what we now call criminal terrorism in Central America. Now, Kenya risks moving in that direction. And the government ought to deal with this problem once and for all. I don't understand, and this is the only country where political actors would actually stand and chest thump. You know how many children have died or their lives rendered hopeless and useless in cities across Kenya? So many. Now, the fact that some of these drug lords, suspected drug lords, were actually extradited to the United States of America speaks some volume as to our own capacity to address this issue of drugs. We should be able to arrest these people, prosecute them, and jail them here in this country. And I believe this country has the capacity to do that. The will to do it is what is lacking, and that is what must be done.
Fantastic. The will to do it is what is lacking. So we've heard also from some of the legislators here who are also adversely mentioned in the Artur Margrian report. You remember that particular report? We wonder what really happened to that particular. They're saying we are going for them, but we have a report that many of the legislators that we've seen also in this particular clip that we've just played have been adversely mentioned in that particular Artur Margrian report. So before they even attempt to, yes, extradite this, can they tell us, or the government, should they tell us what has happened to that particular report? Has anything been effected and implemented from that particular report?
Drug warlords have been known in this country for a long time. But I think Kenya is a country of pretenders. We know these drug barons, we know their lifestyle, but yet the government does nothing. The other day they bombed the ship that we have just seen. But I'm not so sure that the government did not know the owner of that ship and the contents that were in that ship. Journalists were not allowed to go to the high seas to see the content. Perhaps what they destroyed was wheat flour or maize flour. We do not know whether they were real drugs. So,
and that has been a bone of contention.
Yeah, so I would like, Ruto has just said something about arresting these people. I would like the deputy president to walk the talk, because they keep on talking. It's a talking shop. And these people now who are saying they are not whatever, what I want to tell them, that those people who live in glass houses should not throw stones. The government should go the whole hog. These are not soft news, the way Dr. Mumo is saying. What is soft? When our kids are dying in Mombasa. Then when they start to pursue that issue, some politicians in Mombasa say that they are targeting opposition zones to get the drug balance. Mombasa has been known to be the worst in terms of drug trafficking. So if you target Mombasa, you cannot say that we are targeting an opposition zone. It is the worst hit. Our kids are dying there. So I think the government should just do the necessary.
All right.
Let me clear myself. I didn't mean soft news in the context of the whole thing. If you're walking home, Debal, and you meet the police, and they ask you where you're going, and before you answer back, you say, I'm not a thief. The police will ask you, what do you mean, who called you a thief? You know, that's what I meant. So if you see people talking, and hard facts have not even been brought to the table, and someone has not been charged, then it becomes just talk out there. But what the government is doing, yeah, that's what I meant by soft. It's not, is this reaction, because I don't know what it means. But I'm talking about the government, Debal, is doing the right thing, and it should continue to do it and do it to the last, and do it, you know, just talk, like my colleague said, do it and let's see the results and so on.
But have we ever seen the results?
I mean, of course...
have you ever seen the result? What happened to the Saitoti reports?
I know about these reports. The problem is that, and this is where the soft news comes in, where you find...
Why can't you just throw away the soft? Because
exactly,
we're getting confused.
That's where you find people...
What are these reports?
That's why you find people coming in...
The reports are written so that we can take action.
But when you politicize things, you see, like now, that's the same as corruption. When you bring all this and you politicize it and it becomes accusations, and just like you said, politicians will come
just
and
a moment,
say,
then
that scuffles the process.
I beg to differ with you, because if you're a politician or a legislator and you embroil in this particular drug trade, of course it will be politicized. How can we uncouple you're a politician, from the politics of it?
The rule of law is what makes the things look clear. For example, you saw in the newspaper, in The Nation, over the weekend, they showed these clips. Someone had drugs in their hands. They shot the undercover agents, isn't it? And it was clear. This is what we want to talk about. Debal, anyone can come and write bad things about you in the Facebook and those things. Okay. Does it mean you did them?
Let's lastly hear from Professor.
Debal, we are not going to be able to fight Al-Shabaab and fight any enemies without cleaning up our inside Kenya. We need to be serious about narcotic and drug enforcement agencies, special force that will arrest elected official or anybody else that is involved with drug. From what Mustafa said it very correctly. You have to look at Colombia, and you have to look at Philippines, and you have to look at those other countries in South America, and look at the state where they've reached. It's going to reach a state where the drug lord is more powerful than our own law enforcement agents.
Thank you.